Good morning, or afternoon, depending on where you are at. It is October 4th, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, Eastern Standard Time. This is Sharpened Perspectives, episode 10. And actually, this is a very monumental podcast because it's the first one where we're going to have a guest with us. For those of you on video, you can see this beautiful human being in the center of the screen. For those of you on audio, we have Alex Steingraber, SPK Knives. SPK Knives? SP Knives? SP Knives.
I just do SPK.
Just keep
There's
it simple.
There's a P hidden in that logo. You see it?
Just keep it
right
simple.
in the middle. There's a P hidden in there.
You know, sometimes it's one of those optical, we'll say, as they used to say in my old job, optical delusions, where you can sometimes see it and sometimes I can't see it.
Is it dressed blue and white or
It's like FedEx.
Gold
It has
and white
that
or whatever.
arrow in the.
There you go. But SPK Steingraber Precision Knives, established what year?
Like officially, it was established 2019, but I've been doing it since 2018.
2018. You cut your
17?
teeth making fixed blades. Is that what you started with?
Oh yeah.
I realized, like, full disclosure, until probably 2 or 3 years ago, I mean, I had not heard of you. You know, I just saw your name. I would see it. Oh, there you go. Cute fixed blade, stabby little thing.
Yeah.
But I would see your name pop up like on my story, like as having viewed my story. But I didn't know that you were a company because your name was just your name. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
and like we never interacted, so I never even thought to like click on you to like see what you were doing. And so then, like for me, actually, we'll like take it back like 2 years. One of a mutual friend of ours sent me a DM, and I think we talked about this, but I'm going to tell the masses, that said, hey, there's this guy, Alex. He follows you. And I look back retrospectively, and like this statement couldn't have been any less true. But he was like, he's not really like a people person, and he doesn't really like to, he's kind of like introverted, and like I think he'd love to talk to you, but like he like won't do it. And like, I'm like, all right. And so I started following you. And now that I've met you, I'm like, that's total bullshit. He talks more than anybody that I know on this platform, except for maybe me. So like, yeah, anyway, so that was my first exposure to your stuff. And I think that was pretty close to when you had started making the Lamia. How do you pronounce it?
So there's like two ways: the Lamia and Lamia. I don't know.
Okay.
That's what the internet says, but it's I don't know. It's some Latin word. Who knows? Latin's dead,
Hey,
right?
man.
So
As far as
the word? Who cares
as far as
about
I
the
can
word?
tell.
The story's cool.
yeah.
Yeah, I
story's
mean,
tight.
I don't know anything about it, so I mean, we can get into that. But I mean, so that was how I was introduced to you. And Ken, how did you meet or come to know Alex?
I found Alex on Instagram because he would post Speedio stuff.
Oh, you fucking Speedio nerds!
It was literally just I don't even remember. It was sometime this year. I feel like it was probably beginning of this year.
Yeah, I
Okay.
think so.
It's definitely been within a year or so. But yeah, it was Speedio stuff, and then we started talking, watching your stories, and watching you talk shit on everybody. getting into ripping on people.
Oh yeah, you and I actually.
And that was.
Yeah, we talked when like that whole M3 tactical thing went down.
I think that's when we really first started talking. Yeah. I think I followed you a little bit before that, but that was kind of when it all kind of blew up because you were spearheading that whole thing. And then when Quartermaster was getting blown up, I was pretty involved in finding all their bullshit and calling them out on it. So I think we bonded basically just calling people out on fucking lying if they make their own stuff or not.
Yeah,
You connected on the sleuthdom. You guys are cut from the same cloth.
Yep.
we're gumshoes.
Yeah, man. Where's your little top hat and your duster trench coat? You know what I mean? Inspector Gadget style.
There
But
you go.
anyways, so you have the Lamia. When did you start making that knife?
So that was like a weird situation. So I was like still cranking out, I believe, Sasquatches, which is the other fixed blade that I make. So during that time, I was like in my garage and then also like selling my house at the same time. And then I was like, also put a down payment on this machine. So it was like a lot of stuff happened. And I was like, well, shit, I need to find a shop. So girlfriend worked with some people and come to find out this guy owned this building. Anyway, so I get in this building and like get the machine in and cut my teeth on a No, that's when I made the Sasquatch. Okay. So I was making sharks, and then anyway. So I was like running out of money really, really quickly. Even though I just sold my house,
yeah.
like I wanted to save all my money and stuff. So I was like running out of money very, very quickly. And I was like, I need to like make this folder, or I'm gonna like the company's gonna go under. Basically, I can't like survive off of fixed plates.
Right.
So then I invested some of my personal money into my business, and then took like a month, and I was like, I got to bang this out. So I was literally talking to like, you know, lifetime collectors, other dudes that made knives, stuff like that, about everything. And they're like, oh yeah, just throw bearings in it, do this, do that. And I'm like, but I don't want to do all that. I want to make a knife with washers. So I picked the most like difficult thing to do, plus like try to figure out how to machine all of this stuff, because I have no machining background other than I worked in a injection molding company when I was younger. But that was about it. So like no manufacturing background other than that.
I mean, that's seems to be a common tale, but you did it like most people like write that same story, but it's I bought a Tormach for $20,000 and I had been making folding knives by hand and I jumped in. You're like, no, I spent $100,000 on a primo machine with very little machining background, and I've never built a folding knife.
Yep.
By the way, I'm running out of money, and like, if it doesn't work, this is all for nothing. Which sometimes, like, trial by fire is like the biggest motivator, right? Like, sometimes it's like, this doesn't happen. Like, that's your hard deadline. I love hard deadlines that are like sink or swim, because you're just like betting on yourself. So I can totally commiserate with that decision. And it's nice that it worked for you. I actually remember, like, right around the time that I started following you, I think is when you were going through like a lot of fixture development. Mm-hmm. And like, I really appreciated like your attention to detail with regard to like positional accuracy and like dimensional accuracy, and like just to hear a new knife maker like discussing things in tenths and being concerned with like things of that nominal value instantly made me like respect the way that you approach like what you were doing. Because most of the time it's way like broader for most people. They don't take it down to those like small idiosyncrasies, which in my opinion are like what make a process work. You know what I mean? Is like, if you're going to hold yourself to a couple of tenths tolerance, does it need to be that? No. But if you're going to be there, there's a way better chance that your work is going to be consistent. So that was definitely, it rang true with me.
Well, that's the thing too, is like, I talk to a lot of guys and like, again, tolerances, shit like that. And I'm just like,
tolerance isn't the same.
I'm like, yeah, sure. But then like, I was talking to like, it's weird because like when you talk to guys in manufacturing, they're like, why do you need tenths? What do you do? What are you doing splitting the atom for? What are you doing? And then I'll talk to like guys that are making knives, and they're like, well, yeah, if you're not hitting tenths, then what the fuck are you doing? You know, like, so, but I just wanted that repeatability in all my fixturing, because in that way, I know my product will be that much more consistent and you know, just better, I guess.
No, I 100% agree with that. I know Ken does the same thing. Like, we come from like an inspection driven background where that kind of continuity is like of the utmost importance. And so, like I said, man, it jives with both of us, I'm sure. Mm-hmm. So you went from the Shark to the Sasquatch to the Lamia. And now I would argue that of the people that are currently manufacturing CNC knives, you probably have one of the most consistent drop and adherence to deadline processes within the knife making world, which is funny because most people are like overcommit, under deliver. And I've watched, I don't know, 3 or 4 drops from you this year that are, hey, I'm opening this up, and 700 people enter, and like you pick whatever 50 or 100, and they're going to be done in 4.2573 weeks. And then by the minute, you're releasing them and people are getting the knives. And I think regardless of like your product, even though it's solid, that adherence to schedule, I think has probably skyrocketed your success because people love things that they can get. Right. Have you found that to be true at all? Or like, what have you found through that process?
Yeah, so I did find it to be true. And like, so there was like 2 avenues that I was going to take at first. Like I was going to do the whole pre-order thing, but I feel like that the whole pre-order thing has lost, or has been bitter in people's mouths because of the whole boutique knife explosion that has happened with like sending things over to China and then everyone pre-ordering and then waiting for 6 months and not immediately getting that product, you know? And then there was like the whole lottery route, which I took initially. And it was just, the whole lottery thing was nice, but it became a burden on me because it took a lot of time to then pick everyone's name, and then everyone's bullshitting, and then everyone's getting mad at me because they didn't get picked. And I'm like, well, a bot picked you, so get over it. And then the other side of me was like, all right, let's just do drops. And I'm like, well, I don't want to just do drops because then I'm still going to have people, you know, asking me when is this happening, you know? So right. I came to the conclusion that like, all right, if I do a pre-order, I got to make very, very concise like rules on what is happening and give people a definitive deadline of when they should expect things. And then after that deadline passes, then you can start, you know, complaining to me, I guess. Fair. So basically I make it like, you can enter this pre-order. It is a full price pre-order. You can also drop out anytime you want. If you don't want to have the knife anymore or whatever, then leave and I'll refund your money. Not a big deal. I think giving people that out also helps build trust, because not only are they not committed, like they're not committed and they know they're going to get their product within a month. So
it's an interesting way to approach it. And that was actually the first thing I noticed when reading through your description of your pre-order was like, at any time you can request a refund and I'll give it to you. I think that that's a really important thing for people. I mean, we can kind of speak from experience just because there were some people that we know that funded a project, and then rather than taking that money and like purveying the material required to complete that project, they opted to use it to buy equipment, spent everything, and then didn't have enough money to actually create the product, and then ultimately ended up never completing that obligation. And I think you find that to be true with a lot of people. Like, most guys run pre-orders because they need money. Yeah. It's not because they're trying to drum up demand or they're trying to like fill an order book. It's like, no, if I do this, I could make 20 or 30 grand right now so that I can get whatever I need to do off the ground. You're coming from I consider that to be like doing it from a position of weakness. You know, You're doing it from a position of strength, right? Your business has built up some equity. You have a couple bucks laying around. You can afford to take $20,000 or $30,000 in pre-order money and set it off to the side and let it marinate so that you have that to refund people if they need it. And that's just an uncommon and unorthodox, even though it should be more of an orthodox way of doing it, but it's just uncommon in today's knife scheme. And I think a lot of people could probably take note from that with how they approach how they sell products.
So I can like 100% answer all that too. Is like, when I first did the first pre-order, like I was basically like I was essentially running off of lotteries for a while. And then when I did the first pre-order, what I did was I maxed out my business credit card and just bought all the material and all of the hardware and all that stuff. I was like, just have it here and show everyone that like, yeah, everything's being worked on. I'm not using your money as like a line of credit, basically. And then from that point on, me planning things, it kind of progressed to where every pre-order that I do is not funding the current pre-order or even the next pre-order or the next pre-order. It's funding, you know, months out, basically.
Yeah.
So I looked at it that way, as like, make sure that like, and here's the thing is like, it goes without sacrifice, you know, like I'm not paying I didn't pay myself hardly anything. Like, right. I was surviving off of peanuts and money that I got from my house that I just sold. But actually I took most of that money and invested it into my business so I could not go under. So
yeah, I think you found a way to you became profitable very quickly though. You know what I mean? Like that. I think that's something that like, honestly, like we're all still trying to figure out. Like I still pretty much live hand to mouth. There's months I make $0. There's months I make $25,000. You know what I mean? And it's like, and because I'm still in that stage of where pretty much every amount of money that I'm like aside from what my family needs to get by and like maybe save minimally, I'm putting right back into the business, you know? And I think for the first 5 years of being full time, like that's pretty much just inevitable unless you find a way to like make it like, unless say you did like a big run with China and you made 150 or $200,000, like unless you tripped into like a big chunk of money that like you could then be making decisions based on that. I think we're all, because we're so committed to like domestic manufacturing, like we're all treading water and like trying to figure out like what, you know, what works best for us. Now, contrary to that though, you found a way to where like we were talking and you were able to make everything you needed for, you know, that show in like a month, you know, and like you make good money. Right. If you can do that 6 months out of the year, like you're sitting in a very comfortable position. But that is a direct reflection on the process that you've built. You know what I mean? It has nothing to do with like luck or anything. It's your adherence to what you're doing. You've figured out your schedule, your manufacturing schedule, and like you're just consistent, you know? So that's a testament to you, not to luck or anything like that.
Well, it's like always been a thing too, is like you'll hear a lot with successful businesses is like fail forward fast. And like that's all I've done is like making fixtures is like, yeah, I've spent a lot of money and material on fixturing. Like, don't get me wrong. But like each fixture that has failed, I've like come up with my brain or talked to somebody and like, how can I make this better? And then so I've just consistently made it better. And like even now I want to do revisions on my fixturing, but like the process works. We're going to keep it for a little while, and then we're just going to, you know, multiply on that. And I feel like each person or each person that wants to be successful in that way just needs to like, I guess, sacrifice also like, because like, so there's a lot of guys that will do, and I'm not picking on you, Jim. I know you use fancy materials and stuff like that, but like, I want to use fancy materials, but I realize that like, it is going to be a larger burden for me to figure all that out versus just sticking with the plan and then moving forward with like that. Because like I want to use composite show scales. I could figure it out, but like that means I would just have to sacrifice everything else and put it on the back burner and then figure all that stuff out.
Dude, I mean, honestly, you know? I think you can. There's a time and a place, right? Like if you're in a place where like what you're doing is working for your customer base and you're enjoying it, then I think that you don't have to justify that to anybody. I, for a long time, made so few knives. And honestly, if you look at 90% of the knives that I've made are plain Jane users. They're titanium, everything, stainless blade, belt satin grind. Like that is my aesthetic. I have branched out a little bit more lately with the composites, just because since I've been making the subliner, like I can make a knife that I feel is still nice and thin and light and utilize some of that stuff. And it's like marginally more difficult, but like I really didn't enjoy, I don't like finishing Damascus. I don't like hand rubbing. I don't like polishing. I don't like everything that goes along with like the fancy stuff. But there are some times where like I like to make a knife like that just to like remind people that I can do it, and honestly remind myself that I can do it. Right. But like you, I make knives that are meant to be used. And like when I make like these fancy knives, like there are friends of mine whose like specific collection that fits into that, like I think that I like to be a part of that and have my work showcased there. Yeah. But like, and there are also times where like I think it's important for your market to make like a fancy auction piece to like test like how people value that, because that honestly in some ways like dictates your secondary value, you know, with regard to like your higher end offerings. And like I've always found like I'm not having $10,000 auctions, like mine are like 4,000, 4,100. Like it's always like 3,800 to 4,200, no matter how special it is or what material I used. So like, yeah, it's great to make double the money, but like at the same time, I put so much time into making it that like I'd rather have taken that time and made 5 or 6 user knives than fancy stuff. So I totally understand where you're coming from. Like what you're doing is working for you and people like it, stick with it, you know?
And that's where I kind of like look at, like, I call it the Walmart mentality, because Walmart just cranks out, you know, products. Whereas you could have like, you know, you could be a G6 jet buyer or a, you know, Walmart buyer. And I feel like having more products available, because that's the whole thing, is like you're trying to satiate the FOMO that people have. And that's what I want to do ultimately, is like just satiate that FOMO and make as many as I can consistently. And then, maybe down the road we'll do some fancier stuff and get crazy with it. But like for right now, I think that's what really is driving the business. And like for a while I was doing anodizing and like finding out that like, hey, this is not the route that I want to go because it takes so much time.
And it's like the weakest ass user finish that you can use.
Yeah.
Like you breathe on it wrong and it looks like dirt. Oh, you got grease on your hand grease, looks like shit. Oh, it's scratched because you rubbed a nail on it. Like, it looks cool for about 2 seconds. Like I understand like anodized hardware that's a little recessed, but like when you're going like full scale anodizing, it's like, yeah, that looks like shit in a hurry. I don't care for it.
Yeah.
But
that and it's blue and purple.
It's a huge pain.
Green can be cool. Bronze, I like bronze.
Bronze is cool.
Honestly.
Yeah.
Like I think the only way I like anoing is like blackening titanium, tumbling it, and then like doing bronze ano like over the burnished edges. Like I think that can look cool. But yeah, it's definitely not the top of my list either. I think if we could find a way to water jet carbon fiber, I would use it a lot more. You know what I mean? I just hate blanking it out. It's not a big deal. Like if I order a stack of material from fat carbon or something that's all dimensionally the same size, I can program it, throw it in Sarajaws, blank stuff out, make like 10 or 15 sets of scales, and then like, have it be special that way. But, I don't know, like how is Koenig, like with carbon plate or what he's doing, he always has like perfect blanks. And I know they're not dedicating a machine to blanking them out, but I always see like stacks of like perfectly like cut out blanks for frames. Do you have any idea what he's doing there?
Yeah, I don't know. I think maybe they're getting them water jet because I know the dude from Survive Knives, they were water jetting out all of their micarta, like dimensionally. Really? Yeah, dimensionally. It's not
delaminating it at all?
I don't think so.
I've always heard that it. Go ahead.
From what I heard, most of the delam stuff happens when the jet is entering, when it's turning on. It blows it back. But if you start out in a certain spot, you can feed into it. You can feed into it, and it doesn't blow it up. I haven't done it. I don't have enough experience with that stuff, but that's kind of what I've heard. Same with G10, like most of those.
And see.
Yeah, I think if you start enough far away or even off the plate and feed into it, it should work.
Curious. Very curious. So do you have any idea how many Lamias you've made? I'm sure you do.
Oh, gosh. I'd have to go back and actually check, but it's probably in the 500 range.
Okay.
Somewhere around there. Because I was doing like serializing everything for the Gen 1, and then when Gen 2 hit, I stopped doing it. And I was like, I'm done with doing that.
There's no good way to do it. I don't want to post a program out for every number. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Oh, go in, change the sketch, repost it out. Change the sketch, repost it out. Like, yeah, that's annoying. I don't want to do that.
You need to run a macro in your machine.
I'm too stupid for that stuff.
Me too. I cannot do macros.
I'll send it to you. I got letters and numbers. It'll sequentially number up every time you run that. So
really,
it's easy. Yeah. Haas might even have some stuff built in too, but the stuff I have is for Speedios, but it'll work on a Haas too. It's all basically Fanic Macro B stuff. So.
Yeah, the only macro stuff I ever did was back when I was running Fanic stuff, and it's been a while since I've touched one. But yeah, that'd be cool. I mean, I'm not really want to start numbering my stuff, but part of it you just see people get like picky and choosy then about what number they're getting.
They salivate at the mouth when something's serialized.
That's the only reason why I want to do it, because I feel like it'll do that. But I don't want people, waiting. Oh, I'm gonna wait for fucking 666. It's like,
well, I want 69, bro.
I'm at 47. Dude. It's gonna be a while.
Like, can you make 10 number 69s? Can you make 069, 0069, 00069?
Yeah,
fucking people, man.
That's what would happen. Is like, oh, I want 69. I'm just like, whatever.
Sorry,
can't help you.
Or you just do it like what Quartermaster did and make like 1,000 of them and just one of 300, and there's 20 of them out there or whatever.
Is that what they did? They just made multiple copies?
I can't imagine that they didn't. Yeah. I don't know.
Good Lord.
These guys fucking suck.
It's like they didn't realize that the internet is full of sleuths now, and like you're going to get found out. Like, even, wasn't there a thing with like Jake Hoback where he was like having stuff made in China and then said he was doing it domestically? And
yeah,
I don't,
Yeah, no one can survive from any of that stuff. Not with the internet.
I mean, they'll figure it out, man. I don't know. So you've made 500 something Lamias. you're on the Gen 3, or is that what you're doing now? The third generation?
Third generation. Yeah, so that has bearings in it. So much easier to assemble. So much, I guess, I don't know about smoothness, but it's just easier to assemble on my end for sure.
Have you had blowback at all from people like on that, or have people been pretty?
100%. I've had blowback. Dudes get mad at me, sell all the stuff that they bought from me, get mad that I'm switching to bearings, even though you can still run washers in this generation. I've tried to explain how you can, and they still, for some reason, are mad at me.
Are they mad because they didn't buy something with bearings, or they feel like you're selling out, going to bearings?
I'm selling out, going to bearings, which is weird because it's like I didn't realize that was a hill to die on. Is like, oh, you're using bearings now and not washers. I hope you die. It's just like, really? I'm just, oh my gosh, it's still the same knife.
I mean, it's room for both, right? Like, look at McGinnis. Like, he does like 50-50. You know what I mean? He just chooses what he wants to do.
Well, that's the thing about
allow that.
You're not allowed
with the
to do
Lamia, you can run
anymore.
both. Yeah, you could do either one in the same exact assembly. You just swap them out on Alex's.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was genius.
So right now you're milling your bevels. Sometimes then you're setting them up on the grinder and kissing them on the grinder. Have you like given any thought to what you want to do going forward with that? Are you going to continue to offer both? Or are you going to move to a different direction? What do you think you're going to do?
Ultimately, I just want them all ground by either a CNC machine or a Siemens grinder or something like that. Like, I hate grinding bevels. I've done my fair share of grinding bevels on all of the sharks and Sasquatches that I've made. So I think my time is up as far as grinding bevels.
Sure.
That's why I mainly machine them so I don't have to. It just takes a lot of time.
There's a time factor. I always have like subscribed to the idea that like the grind is like the soul of the knife, and like I've always loved it. And I spent so much time like learning how to hollow grind. I spent a lot of time freehand hollow grinding. Like, it was just like a pursuit that I had for a long time. And in a lot of ways, like, unfortunately or fortunately, depending on how you look at it, like, it really defines the aesthetic of like the transient to me. Like, I feel like that if it was flat ground, or if it was flat ground, like it just wouldn't have the same look, and it's hard for me to step away from that. Now, if Ken figures out this CNC hollow grinding business, I might be able to be convinced to move that route, because like you said, it's all about product in people's hands, right? And like, I've always subscribed to the idea that like scarcity is created by lack of product, and like that's 1 + 1 = 2. But like, part of that I'm realizing is just my fear that people are going to stop wanting my stuff. But if I continue to look at like the case study of like, whether it's you or it's Oz or it's Craig Brown or it's insert like guy that's made 2,000 knives of this one model and still like can't keep them in stock, like there is no like ceiling right now to like what we're doing. And so like, once I like accept that in my head, that I could sell 3,000 or 4,000 transients before needing to move on, like, then I think I'm like ready in a place to like move to that. But I'm like deathly afraid that if I stop hand grinding my stuff, then nobody's going to want it, and then I can't sell knives anymore, and like, that's just not the case in the current climate of things.
I think you're going to have people on both sides of the fence, but I think ultimately they're all going to come together and be like, oh wait, I can actually get like this transient blade is ground on a machine. He does drops every week. Like, I can get one of these knives fairly, easily than I could before. But then I think what's going to happen is like, you can set aside all of the time you're saving and hand grind a bunch and be like, hey guys, I have this. It's a little bit more money. I hand ground it, and then have like a separate offering, And I've also thought about that.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Fancy material stuff or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of like what my wife had said was like, you can do bigger, more consistent drops, but like you can still have like your custom fancy ones that like you just have to, I think, as long as you're like open about it and like give it a purpose, which is like, these are what they are and those are what they are, and like there's a divide between them. I think that like it can be navigated. And, you know,
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. And I think the other thing too is like, as long as the aesthetic is the same, like I don't want to sacrifice the aesthetic to have it done, you know, another way. So, you know, I guess we'll kind of have to cross that bridge when we come to it. But yeah, I'm realizing that like I spent a lot of time this last 2 years just doing Mac stuff and like very little transient stuff. And as I've been making more transients and like getting more of them out there and people's like general excitement for that, like it's changing like how I feel about what I'm doing. Like I think you hit me up and said that to me, like, hey, when you're doing Mac stuff, like you're kind of monotone and like you're over it. But when you're working on your own stuff, like you're so much more energized to like share it and like you can tell it's special. And I really took that away from that conversation we had. Like, shit, you're right. Like I really need to start investing more time in my own thing. Like I like lifting up other people and helping them distribute their products, you know, through the Mac projects. But also like a lot of times it's more of a headache than it's worth, you know, I think. So I have to figure that out, you know, but I'm glad you guys are vested in yourselves and like, you know, are fully focused on your own brands, because I wish that I was there. Unfortunately, at this time, I'm just not.
No, and I think after the Maker Syndicate too is like we all came with that newfound perspective of like, holy shit, like we made these things, people are stoked about them. If we just continue to make these things, then they're going to continue to be stoked about them. And I think that a lot of people that want to get parts made, I mean, yeah, like you're the guy to go to for Mac stuff. And like for a while, Ken was the guy to go to get a lot of things made. But I think ultimately they're always going to find somebody else to do that. If that, like that olive branch is not extended anymore, you know? So,
yeah, no, I can see that. And like we talked about that a couple of weeks ago, actually. It was like, there's like two paths for that. One, I'm finding guys that I'm working with are like buying their own machines. Like they've been paying me and they're like, man, I'm paying you a few $1,000s a month. That's more than a machine payment. Like if I have but I also really love working with products that are finished this way. So maybe I need to find a way to do it myself. Like Brian Brown is buying a mill, and, you know, Ian CMF has been talking about buying a machine. Kurt American has a router and I think is considering buying a machine. You know, I just got hit up today. Matt Ware Knives hit me up and said, hey, I want to get into CNC. I have some questions. Like, can you give me a holler? So I think people like that are making stuff, whether it's because they've done, and I don't mean this in regard to any individual that I just mentioned, but I think when these guys are having Chinese stuff made and then they're getting it and people realize like, man, these are better than a lot of like handmade knives that like guys are making. And then I think they're running the numbers in their head and they're like, man, like making knives by hand kind of sucks. And I can make a better product that's more consistently available with a machine. And I don't have to outsource anymore. You know, I think that if they can do 1 + 1 + 1 = 3, like you're going to see a lot of people that are like, if I want to do this for 20 more years, gone are the days of me making 2 knives a week, working 50 hours a week to make 2 handmade knives, you know, like it's not scalable. And I think we're going to start to see a lot more guys continue to buy machines, which I guess is like kind of that why this podcast can be relevant, you know, because we are trying to be machinists talking about making knives, but inherently knife makers are going to be becoming CNC machinists inevitably, I believe.
Well, to your last point that you made, and I've had this conversation with a ton of people.
These fuckers.
Is like, oh yeah, I forgot that was happening today.
Damn, Amber Alert. It's gonna be like that at the next half hour of this fucking podcast.
Oh man, I'm turning my phone off.
I have to,
dude. All right, so
national alert. You all have COVID.
To your point, and I've had this conversation with a ton of guys because they're really worried about like getting super. We'll call them high end for the sake of conversation, but like they're worried about getting these knives in hand, and like it's so hard to get these knives in hand. And I'm like, listen, days are the old of like Benchmade and Spyderco and all these other guys, because I think the new thing that's going to happen is like guys are going to get fed up. They're no longer going to do work overseas, and they're just going to fund their own operations. And I think that, to your point, and you talking about it, is like all these guys, they're going to be buying machines. Because here's the thing: is like you don't have to be proficient in making all of these different parts. You just have to make your parts. That's it.
Honestly, that is true. And like, I think we can all agree based on like our experience is that 95% of knife parts are not complicated to make. In the grand scheme of like what a complicated part to machine is,
Right.
unless you're doing what Ken's doing, where it's like going fucking to a million with everything he's making to make like a 3D contoured, even if you're just making a flat scaled chamfered knife with a pocket clip and a backspacer, like they're relatively easy parts to make. So I think that like once people like cut their teeth on that and like make a thing or two and realize like I don't need to be a savant at CNC at programming or even design.
Nope.
I can pretty much do this like Fusion, not that I would know because I don't use Fusion, but Fusion seems to make it pretty easy for a person with no real machining knowledge to like, yeah, maybe they're not going to get the best tool life or the shortest cycle time, but they can give you what you need to get parts made based on like speeds and feeds suggestions on material and stuff like that. So I'd have to agree.
And all the process reliability stuff is like, it's all technicality. Like you can machine and then you figure it out. You're like, all right, I'm breaking tools. Let's figure this out now. Got all the other stuff dialed in. Now let's just figure this stuff out. And then let's figure out fixturing and then how to scale it. And then there you go.
I mean, I think a lot of people don't. Oh, sorry. You know what, Ken? I'm going to give the stage to you. You haven't said much today, so this is on you.
Like 35 minutes, I haven't said a word. Yeah, no, it's fine. Yeah, even like the datum parts are not hard parts. You know, it's still just essentially slab construction. You know, it's basically a frame lock, even though the lock bar is inset. But it's still, the frames are still just 2-ops. You know, 3-axis mill. You don't need a 5-axis for anything. Honestly, I don't think you need a 5-axis for any knife stuff, really. 4-axis for sure would be hugely beneficial. I mean, unless you're trying to run pallets and have a pallet pool and do all that stuff, obviously there's some advantage to it. But most of the stuff that we do can just be done on a very simple, basic 3-axis mill with all the stuff, all the tool paths that come with the base Fusion package. So you don't need anything more than that really for any of this stuff. So it's easy for people to get into it. Like it's never been easier for somebody to get into machining or doing knife stuff, especially than it is now. With
I mean,
how big the community
Fusion
is
and
too,
Haas is like a turnkey setup. You know what I mean? They just like one hand washes the other with those. Yeah. And I think like a lot of the nuance from machining comes from like understanding like cutter engagement. You know what I mean? Like it comes from like I don't know how to really elaborate on it, but like I don't know how Fusion does this, but with Creo there's a lot of workarounds, which is like it'll plow into anything, but like figuring out ramp angles and like and cutter engagement and just like things that like benefit like the overall scheme of the manufacturing process, like those are the things that you deep dive into. And like you can still make, if you had a 3-axis mill with one pallet system, like even honestly, like you guys are setting up pallet. I have a 1-piece workflow for all these Mac projects because it doesn't make sense for me to build pallet density when I'm only making 10 of any one thing in a month. You know, it's not like I'm sitting here and making 1,000 of them at a time. It's nope. I can do 1-piece workflow and just swap fixtures. And like, I'm just as fast because I'm out here. I don't care if the cycle's 35 minutes for one or, 6 hours or, 3 hours for 10, I'm still out here, thankfully. So I don't have to worry about that. But I'm going to switch into that foray once the transients, now that I'm gearing up to manufacture the transients en masse. I have to start looking at densities like that. How can I get longer cycle times? Because for me, the only way that I can start to fit that into my scheme is like overnight runs of parts, because I still have to do Mac stuff during the day and I need to start to utilize my cycle time. And I used to not want to do that because, and Ken can commiserate with this. Actually, Alex, I don't know what you have, but like when I had a roto phase, I didn't want to have my cycle end at 2:30 or 3 in the morning and then just sit there and parasitically run and leach power for 3 or 4 hours until I got up again. Because it's just the electric bill would have been insane. Now that I have the phase perfect, like the thing takes the power. They say at 175 watt light bulb just to be on. Like it doesn't cost me anything. So if I run for from 10 to 3 or 10 to 4, and then I come back out here at 7 or 8, it's nothing for me to do that. Or then I can just use the machine's like auto off cycle, and then I don't care if the phase converters. I leave it on all the time anyways,
So that's what we have full 3-phase here, and the brother has an auto off function. And so I could like set it auto off at this time and it'll shut off. But yeah, we got full 3-phase here. So it's wonderful.
Yeah, I need to get a face
Must
perfect.
be nice. Must be nice.
Listen, you guys
Would
can
you
just
get the
move out here and just rent the shop.
fucking New York is the armpit of America, bro. Western New York, not so much, but I just consider y'all. I mean, Ohio's just as bad. I mean, maybe that's just because I'm sandwiched between, but yeah, honestly, like, would you get the 20, Ken? Would you get the 20 horsepower or would you get the 30?
The 20 is probably all I need. I'm running off a 15 horsepower rotary phase converter right now from American Rotary.
It's fucking crazy, dude.
It works. You know, like I said, I've had some issues with power, but I've fixed all that stuff by just putting that 1 second dwell after the spindle turns on before the table and the Z move. So now I just run the machine at 100% and I have no issues. Because Haas they're dumb. You know, oh yeah, it's a 30 horsepower spindle. It's not. It's a 15 horsepower spindle that you can run at 200% load. So that's why, you know, Haas power, whatever everybody says.
Oh, yeah.
It's stupid, but you're very rarely going to 100% or 200% load, even just turning the spindle on and making knife stuff. You're never going to be going that high on load anyways. You shouldn't be.
Dude, I got to be honest.
40% on average, depending on what I'm doing. But I'm never going to max it out where I'm going to have an issue with this 15 horsepower failing. So I think a phase perfect, a 20 horse phase perfect will be totally fine, depending on how many machines I have in here.
The power curve on the phase perfect is a little different too. Like when I would monitor the amperage draw, like when I would kick the spindle on in the VF2 to 10K, and I would just like be checking the amperage off of the hot lead, you know, it would grab 100, it would pull 180 amps like for a millisecond. Now when I watch the thing on the front of the PT of the phase perfect, like that is only drawing 80 amps. It's like half. I don't know if there's like an efficiency difference between like how the phase perfect like distributes my power versus the roto phase, but like it is like less than half of the draw. So I have been having, though, the last 2 days, we've been having power surges here, and like the machines have been shutting off. Like I've been getting like, you know, brownouts or whatever that like will cause low voltage alarms. And like both my machines, the last 2 days in a row that's happened. And it's not hot or anything here. Like it's not like the grid is like being taxed. I mean, it's actually hot today. It's like 85 today. Weird. But yeah, like even in the summer when it was 90 and I had the air conditioning running and I had both machines running and the compressor running and blah, blah, blah. I never had that happen, but I've been having weird brownouts the last couple of days. I don't like that.
Yeah, I only had that issue when it got really hot here for a few weeks straight. That was when I had to dive into that stuff and get that dual working.
Yeah, that'll be a nice upgrade for you, though, when it's time.
Yeah, not right now. I keep thinking about that, too. I'm like, all right, do I want to buy a phase perfect and do that in here, or do I want to just outgrow the garage and get into a shop again? That would
probably
want to that's the move. So
yeah, if you owned your house, I would maybe say, yeah, start to kit out your garage as like a permanent workspace. But like because you're renting, like it doesn't really make sense. Any industrial space that you have in Southern California is probably going to have 3-phase, so you're not going to have to worry about any of that. But
yeah, it's very rare until you get into like kind of the shittier, smaller kind of mom and pop like complexes that have
like used to be zone residential and now they're commercial, but they never got the power upgrade.
Yeah,
like anywhere in Buffalo.
Yeah, so I think about that all the time. I'm like, yeah, we have a nice house, we've got a nice big place, and the neighborhood's cool, but I wouldn't mind living in like a really nice apartment again.
Really?
Having some amenities. I'd rather live in a house, but
that's so weird.
Before we lived here, it was the only time I lived like in an actual apartment building. And it was, well, I did before for a little while, but it was nice. You got all the amenities, you got the gym, you've got super dialed air conditioning, like always have hot water. But
you're so close to so many people. Shit, so. That's the problem. Yeah. Like I realized I just can't stand people really. Like I like people, but like in general, I want to be away from them most of the time. Like my wife will be like I'll take a roundabout way. Like I'll avoid like neighborhoods and stuff and like take this really long circuit to get somewhere. She's like, why are you going this way? It takes like twice as long. I'm like, because I'm like away from people and I want to be like in the country, like as I'm driving to wherever I'm going. So the idea of like moving into an apartment complex like just makes my skin crawl. Like I got neighbors on the walls and ugh.
You don't like driving by that McDonald's where the guy had a bomb strapped to his neck?
That first of all, that was the eyeglass. That was the eyeglass world. That was 5 miles from here up on an Upper Peach Street. Okay, and that is a pretty dense. That's like our like densest road. Like that's where all the commercialized crap is. That's where Lowe's and Home Depot and Walmart and We have 3 Walmarts in Erie. Okay, we're big time, but ironically, Erie is the 3rd largest city in Pennsylvania with 100,000 people. It's like Philly, Pittsburgh, Erie, and then our state capital, Harrisburg, is actually smaller than Erie. I don't know why, but yeah, I don't know, man. I can understand where you're coming from, though. If you wanted to get a shop and then be able to downsize, move into an apartment, have the amenities, have the kids there, as long as you had enough space to do your thing. But
the house is cool, though. We pay for this. We pay a lot less than what a studio or 1-bedroom apartment is in this area, which is fucking wild.
Are you serious?
Because we've been in here for like 5 years before the prices went insane.
Dude,
and they've always
aren't
been
you still
crazy,
paying like $3,500 a month though?
$2,850.
My mortgage,
which is crazy because I remember my parents.
$1,275.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. My parents bought a house when we were young. It was like $1,200 a month.
Yeah. Like when you're young in the 90s, and now I'm living that right now. Like I have a pool and an acre and a small house, and I'm listening. I always like whenever Joe tells me, because Joe, he's just like
Fucking
is all
Joe.
about. He's a crazy guy, but he'll always talk about moving. And I've tried so many times to be like, dude, sell your house for $1.5 million. Come out here. Spend $600K, get 50 acres, a 2,500 square foot house, and like a giant shop, and still have $1 million to like set aside and like retire on. Like, come on, man, get out of. He's like, I want to work for the fire department or whatever.
He just wants his pension, man.
No, I know, man, and I can't say anything because if I was in his position and like the earning potential of like how close he is, and like to have that security at retire, because I think like I'm sure we're all the same. I've just accepted that like I'm gonna work till I'm dead. And if something happens really good where like I can retire, that's great. But like whatever, I just let that go. I choose to like live my life a quarter mile at a time, and and just do that route. But I can also respect if you're like, if I make it another 10 years, like I'm gonna be making $100,000 a year to do nothing, and I'm like, that is also pretty sweet,
Yeah, that's a sweet.
Yeah, and then move out there, whatever.
So, Alex, have you given any thought to getting a second machine? Are you at all near maxing out your spindle uptime during the day and like want to start to like grow, or are you feeling like you're happy with where you're at?
There's like some days where I feel like that I could utilize it better, and then there's other days where I'm just like, if I put this part on here, then I could get another machine and put this part on here. But I think ultimately, if I did get another machine, it would either be like a pallet changing machine or the same machine, and then I would just put a different product on that machine.
Okay.
So like
you have it dialed for one spindle, you know what you're doing. You have a workflow for your week, for your month. Yeah. So leave this dedicated, because I know like a lot of people would be like, you should get a second machine and just grind your blades in it, like Austin. What, he got an R450, didn't he?
He got an M200 5AX, I think, whatever.
Yeah, he bought an actual 5-axis.
The actual 5-axis, brother, I think is what he's using now.
Interesting. Like, I'm pretty impressed with that guy. Like, when I went into his shop, like, it's dialed as hell. And, like, it's pretty. I mean, his fixtures were made really nicely. Like, his processes for everything he was doing. Like, I'm like, I don't know if I could program that. I don't know how you're doing it, but I don't know if I could figure out how to do it. And I just, like, he gave us the tour and, like, just how he has it laid out and watching his, like, trajectory, his upward trajectory. And I'm just like, if you gave me the same resources in the same amount of time, like, I don't know if I could have done what he did. You know what I mean? I really don't think that, like, I would be able to do that. I'm looking at his Swiss, and I think he just got, he got the third brother, and, like, it's just so dialed, man. It's like, I always want to say I want to be Joe when I grow up, but I kind of want to be Danny Oz, man. I kind of want to be him when I grow up. He's kicking ass, that's for sure. But yeah, so that makes sense. You get a second machine, you would dedicate it to another product line. I think that if I was going to buy another machine, I've been giving this a lot of thought, because like this is like my situation. I have a 30 by 40 building. It is completely maxed out. I've literally utilized every space that I can in here, surprisingly. And I'm like, do I expand my shop? Do I move into a commercial space, like an industrial space? Like, what is the move here? And like, if I was going to buy another piece of equipment, what should it be? And I think if I was going to buy something else, it would be a wire. I honestly believe that, like, if I look at like where most of my time is spent and lost, I think that whether it comes to like precisely finishing like titanium components or doing things hardened blade profiles complete with all my features and like critical dimensions being wired, I think that the wire is the direction that I would go. Do you think I'm crazy for thinking that? Like, is that
Not for your stuff.
No, because
I mean, it just feels like go ahead.
I've also thought about that too. Like I wouldn't necessarily want to get another mill. Like if it was another machine, it'd either be a Swiss, a wire, or another mill.
Right. I mean, I think about like what we need to do if our time's like pretty allocated. Like if I was to add a third mill, I just wouldn't be able as one person with the way that I'm doing things to like accurately utilize 3 spindles at once. I don't think I could see like a Swiss just because the run times with a bar feeder like can be so long, right? Unattended time is sweet. The same thing with the wire. The cycles are so long that like you pretty much like can leave that thing run unattended depending on how you set it up most of the day, especially if you're stacking material, like whether it's how you did your lock bars back in the day or like how I had those last 180 blades done. Like it just seems like uptime versus like my time invested versus like the outcome and what it's saving me from doing. Like I think about all the hard milling that I do. Like it's so taxing on tooling, especially especially in like houses. Like you're not running in a super rigid machine that's like designed to hard mill. Can you do it? Yes. But like it's not in any way, shape, or form efficient or cost effective. So I've just like wondered, like, is that the move? But then the problem is the power consumption by a wire is just so high. You know what I mean? I don't have the power for it here, unfortunately. So I don't really know.
Yeah, wires are cool because you could essentially cut out all your water jet costs too.
Yeah, I mean, I look at that, right? Like no kerf, like accurately within a 10th or 2 finished parts. Like just imagine like how much easier it would be to generate like fixturing if you knew every part was within a 10th or 2. You know, just like not having to deal with like like if you lap your material and then you wire it, it's deadly flat. It's not going to bow. It's like in a cut, you know, everything's always the same. Like I always said that like the wire guys would bust our balls, right? Like, you know, he'd be like, you know, giving you a hard time. And it's like, well, if I worked in like a climate controlled, like no, like cutting pressure that has 100% brand new tooling at all times. Like, yeah, I could hold a 10th 2 on everything I ever did, you know, like fuck you, you know?
Yeah. Especially if you're only moving like a quarter inch an hour.
Yeah. If it's even that much, like, oh yeah, my machines ran for 24 hours straight. Like,
cool,
congratulations,
you got 2 inches.
Man. Yeah, way to go. Love your life.
Nice
but anyway, we're talking about 2023 here. We're coming to a close. Have any of you guys, well, Alex, I know you just got that new tumbler. Have you given any thought to like any of your end of year purchases that you might want to make for tax purposes? Or like, are you kind of set with what you're doing and you're just going to kind of ride the year out?
I think I might get another one of those tumblers. But I think the next thing is probably a 3D printer.
The X1 Carbon?
Yeah, those fancy bamboo printers that everyone's getting.
Yes, dude.
I think I might get one of those
the only option.
Just for prototyping purposes. Like, and it's stupid fast, and it can run overnight.
I just want one so bad. I want one so. How much are they? $1,600.
It's like $1,600 with the multi-spool and all that stuff.
The multi-spool. Somebody was showing me that. It was like, oh, they have like 9 colors that they can change on the fly.
You can have 4 on top, but I think you can hook up 4 to that. So I think from what I heard, you can actually have like 16 spools connected to one machine. Because you can have 4 of those feeding into the 4 that are already there kind of thing. So.
And it can switch on the fly, right? So like any layers that you want can be whatever. And I just, dude, the finishes that they're getting are so premium. Like, such nice finishes. And then I was watching, like, some guy was like, oh yeah, I changed the bottom plate and now he's getting like polished finishes on the bottoms of his parts. And like, dude, it's wild. Like, you know, like even just like I've always wanted quality of life stuff. Like the kind of stuff that Hourglass used to make out of aluminum, but just like 3D printed versions. Like I want really nice, like magnet held, like mounts for like my drills, like on my convenience package on the Haas, or like just you know, I want, you know, if I'm printing collet holders or just use tool organizers, or there's so many things that like I could clean up every surface in the shop if I could just 3D print stuff all the time. And I don't know why I haven't pulled the trigger. I buy stupid shit and I don't buy a 3D printer. Maybe that would be a great foray into Fusion. Let me buy an X1 Carbon and then start using Fusion to like generate printed stuff while I get used to using it or something like that.
There you go. That's the only reason I want one. It's just for organization stuff.
Yep.
Yes.
Same.
And toys for the kids. Like Hudson
Yeah.
enjoys all that stuff too. So it's cool.
I think that's a really, really cool idea. Like, you know, my kids would be super into that, you know, like if they could like help model something and then watch the printer do their thing. Like they're definitely getting to the place where like they're interested in this stuff. Like my oldest is 13 and like he is getting to that point where like I kind of want to start getting him out here because he's like kind of like nerdy and also like, you know, electronically not gifted, but like he's, you know, like technology is his thing. And I could see him like tinkering around and designing stuff and like being able to make stuff would be awesome.
Yeah, if I had a 3D printer at 13,
even if they don't get in
shit, that'd be crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I think about that, man. Like, I think everything that we've ever done in our lives has led us to this moment, and I don't like regret like any of my path to get to where I'm doing. But like, if somebody had like showed me something like this when I was like an early teen, and like I could get a leg up on like becoming proficient at it, like even see like knife makers that like started when they were 10 or 11, and then now they're 18 making like beautiful like functional knives, whether it's like forging or otherwise. And I never had that leg up because it's like I grew up in like a white collar. My dad's a lawyer. My mom was a stay-at-home mom, and like we just didn't do anything like that. Fuck, my dad didn't work on anything. He paid people to work on everything. I left my parents' house with like no practical life knowledge, and I picked up hunting, and I picked up like I'm too broke, so YouTube University for everything I ever needed to fix. And like, I like, you know, if I can impart any of this stuff onto my kids where they're like leaving me with like a leg up, like. I think that it's a win. I'm sure you guys feel the same.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, that's the goal.
Oh, sweet. Sure. Well, I guess we didn't really talk about any of our normal stuff. Ken, do you have anything else that you want to touch on?
Not really. I mean, I have all kinds of shit I want to talk about, but it's more machine related, technical kind of intricacy stuff. So I could go on that shit for hours, of course. But you're going to a show, next week, right, Jim?
Me?
Yeah.
So I'm actually
out of town.
I'm going to Montana for a wedding.
That's what it is. You're going to Montana. Yeah.
I wish I was going for a show. No, my buddy's getting married. He asked me to be his best man. And so I leave on Tuesday for Montana. The wedding's not till Saturday, but we're going to go. Actually, he's been trying to kill an elk all year. So I'm flying out there. We're going into the heart of grizzly country, and we're going to spend Wednesday hunting elk. I've never really experienced it. I'm going out to Montana next year to hunt elk with a buddy of mine. So, you know, I'm going to cut my teeth there. He actually just texted me the other day and was like, yeah, there's been 6 people have died from grizzly attacks this year, the most ever. And I'm like, would it be ironic if you and I both died before your wedding? Like if we got mauled to death by a grizzly? But, see, I'm going out there and like, unfortunately, like a lot of our friends, because the wedding was kind of short notice, like aren't able to make it. And so like, I'm definitely like stoked to be going out there a little early to kind of support him and like, you know, just kind of be there for him as he's getting ready for his big day. And then, yeah, I'm back the following Monday, which is actually my 13th wedding anniversary, which is kind of crazy. And then, yeah, I'm in full bore prep for CCKS, which I'll be coming out your way. November 12th, I think, is the show. So
what day are you coming out for that?
I think I fly out Thursday. I'm there Thursday to Monday. The show, Friday Night Blade Affair, is Friday night, obviously. So I'm going to that just because I want to see, you know, some of the highest end guys there. And then, you know, pretty much like everybody that's doing the show treats Friday Night Blade Affair as like a hang. And then the CCKS is actually Saturday and Sunday, but I am only going to vend on Saturday because I'm going to the Chargers game with my brothers flying out from North Carolina, and we're going to go to the Charger game on Sunday. So yeah, we can get together Thursday. I want to touch base with Joe, see if we can connect. And then Friday kind of just chill until, you know, Friday Night Blade Affair starts, which is at night. I think it's not till like 6 o'clock. But yeah, so I'm going to be in full prep for CCKS. I think I'm going to try and bring 8 knives with me. I'm still trying to figure out what handle material I want to use, if I want to use a different fat carbon pattern or if I want to use some camo carbon, but I want to do all composites for this. They were just so well received at makers that I kind of want to forego the titanium stuff. Like I'm just realizing that I like the like weight that I'm able to achieve with the composites. And so I don't know what I want to do there, but I got to figure it out. I'd like to figure it out before I leave for Montana, just because I'd like to get all my material headed to the water jet and stuff, because I'm pretty much out of parts and I have like 5 weeks before the show. So I want to kind of get jamming on that. And then, yeah, I have a bunch of Mac production to do for November 1st, which I just finished October stuff yesterday and shipped it. And I'm starting a full complement of Mac stuff this week. And then when I get back for 2 weeks, so I got to get jamming, man.
Nice. Yeah. That's a lot of stuff and it's going to come fast.
I know, man. Fuck, it always comes fast. But I saw you were doing some, you were hand satinating some flats. Have you figured out, like you were talking about maybe doing a drop this weekend? Is that still looking realistic or?
Yeah, I keep thinking, I'm like, all right, I'm going to do a drop this weekend. And then I have a little bit of stuff that comes up during the week or whatever. And then I don't really want to do it during the week for whatever reason. I get, it doesn't really matter when I do a drop. I think people are going to get in on it anyways.
Oh yeah.
I imagine that people are going to be a little bit more available, maybe like on the middle of a Saturday or Sunday to actually jump in.
But you say that,
but I think people that actually really want to get them, as long as they have enough notice, they're going to make it work. You know, even if they're at work, they're going to go to the bathroom, whatever they need to do. So, so yeah, I need to finish them up. I flat sanded all this stuff. So I finally got, I've had this belt grinder that I started building like probably 12 years ago. It's one of those EERF, the free grinders.
I remember, man.
And I downloaded the models. I got material for that, and it was enough parts for 2 of them. And my buddy PJ, who I've talked to, Abyss Tools, he finished his right away, pretty much like everything. He just dives in and finishes it. And, 10 years later, whatever, 12 years later, he's been using it this whole time. And I never finished mine as usual with pretty much anything. So kind of common theme we were talking about before we jumped in this in recording, like I have a big problem of just starting a lot of shit and never finishing anything because it doesn't finishing projects and stuff for me. I don't get a high from checking stuff off of a list of being done. I just want to work on the cool parts of it. Anyways, long story. I finally got some belts for it, from McMaster yesterday.
Yesterday.
So I broke my blade on my bandsaw a couple days ago, which kind of shut down some of the stuff that I was trying to work on in the mill. I want to make some more coins. I posted a picture on Facebook of that coin. A bunch of people want one. So
fuck
like,
them.
right,
Where's
cool.
ours?
I know. Yeah, I know for sure. And, Alex and I were talking about that too. We need like a little crew name or something we could put on the back of them.
Works for me.
But so I need to cut up some tie for that, make the coins. If the mill's running, I feel like I'm a lot more productive because then I actually have to be out here and I have to be kind of moving around the shop. So I had the saw going most of the week. I've got a few hundred parts up here that I'm cutting up. I do some saw work for a buddy. But the blade broke on the saw, so I ordered a new one from McMaster, and I threw some belts in on the order. So I finally got some belts for this damn grinder.
Hell
and
yeah.
I've been flat sanding or kind of line grinding these. But the issue with it is that I put the blade on a little magnet, and the magnet has a handle on it. It's all nice, but I didn't think about it when I was doing it, and I went to go put it on the fucking platen on there, and it sucked up to that thing because it's magnetic.
You don't have a piece of high temperature glass or anything between
there's
them?
No, there's no glass or anything on this one. So the platen's
Rookie
magnetic
move.
And that shit sucked it onto that thing. And it, I have one of them, this one right here in my hand. I wanted to show you. It rolled the fucking tip a little bit there.
Goddamn.
So it's not that bad. But it's bad enough to where it's like, it's bothering me. So I either need to, all the other ones are done though. I got the hang of it and everything and got all the other ones all grained because I was doing them on the plate with paper, and I'm sitting there sweating and it's taking forever trying to chase out all the grind lines because the surface grind, was the short direction. So just chasing all of those little stray grind lines out, on the plate just took forever. So I did them on the belt and it worked really fast, but I have this one right here with this big thing on here, which was discouraging. And it just made me not want to work on these things right now, but I need to actually finish them. I know, being a little pussy, but it's the only thing I have to do really. I'm basically ready to just throw them all together now. So I put one together the other day, and the whole thing just went together and there was zero issues with it. The centering's perfect. The pivot's nice. I know you're using Loctite on your pivot screw, right? Because you're just doing your preload by hand.
Oh yeah.
Right? And then on your bearing ones, Alex, are you doing the same thing?
Yeah, blue Loctite, yeah.
Okay. Because I don't want to use Loctite. I want to just bottom the screws out on the barrel and have the preload calculated in there.
I want to get my pivot lengths down to with a 2/10 tolerance so that I can lock them down and have the appropriate load. I mean, it's cool,
gym,
but
man.
fuck, that's a lot of work, dude.
But that's kind of been where I'm at right now. Is like I'm going through that and just with the Knife Dogs pivot lap and everything, it makes it fairly straightforward.
It's some fucking rotten design stuff right there, dude. The guy that needs bushing length pivot tolerances for a fucking bearing knife, like
in the millions.
It's cool. It's cool. Yeah, sorry. This is 20 million. It's out of spec. We need to breathe on it so that it grows.
Yeah. So anyways, that's what I'm doing right now. I got to basically I need to throw them all together. And then I already shortened all my screws, which I only need to shorten one of the titanium screws on the pocket clip side. Because the screws actually contact each other because it's so thin in the back, they hit each other.
Yep.
So that would probably be, if I were to ever get a second machine, it would be just a small Swiss with some axial live tools. That'd be ideal.
Sick.
Because like you were saying, Alex, you're spending what, $1,500 probably a month on hardware.
Yeah, I think before the show I spent like $2,500 on fucking hardware.
Yeah,
I'm doing the same, man. I'm about $1,000 a month.
And
it's like
almost threw up. And I was like, that's basically a Swiss payment.
Yep.
You know, that's what Oz said, right? He was paying $2,500 a month and it was cheaper than a payment. But I think less about that and more about we are completely reliant on somebody else. And if they have any kind of a manufacturing issue, like what are you going to do? You know what I mean?
The thing is, like, when I went to go order just the plain, like, pivot heads, like, there was like 10 of them up there. And I was like, whoa, why don't you have way more? So I called like Steve and I was like, hey man, like, do you have more of these? He's like, oh yeah, I just didn't update the website. And I'm like, dude, like, come on, man, let's go.
Or conversely, you'll get I'm out. I'll have more in 5 weeks.
Yep.
I've had that happen, you know, where he's like, I'm out of those. I won't have any till next month. And I'm like, okay, I guess I'll get the bigger versions, the 1/2-inch ones, and machine them to the right head diameter. You know what I mean? Like, what else can you do? You know, and I mean,
you'll order
I'm also like, Steve is great. He's a great human and like his product is very consistent, but fuck, it's expensive, man. You know what I mean? Like paying $12 for a pivot set is just like, I mean, I like dread stacking the cart, you know, like, because especially like if I'm having a lean month or like I don't have a lot of money laying around, like I'm going to be getting reimbursed for that stuff from the makers, but like I still got to put out that $1,000 or $1,500, you know, and like, I don't know. It's tough. Some months it's not a big deal, but other months I'm like pinching pennies and I'm like, I guess what can you do? I can't ship them out till I have it. But
that's where I'm at
that'd
right
be
now.
sweet, man. We need somebody to get a Swiss that like, let me just pay you, you know, if you just come in like 25% less than Steve, where you're making a bunch of money still, I'll pay you to make my hardware. That was actually, I reached out to Oz and he was like, yeah, I'll do it. And I'm like, what's the price going to be? Same as Steve. And I'm like, there's no upside there for me. You know what I mean? Like, just be like 15% less and make them to the lengths that I like. And like, I'll use you for everything. But then like I talked to you about, I think we talked about it last week, you know, then Tactile was like, we'll make them for like 30% or of the cost that you're paying now. So I still have to get models together. I've been a slather ass on that, but standardizing hardware and like, I mean, if, you know, that, like I said, I got to go through all my models that I make for other guys. I got to standardize counterbore depth so that all my hardware is the same length, and then just start do a mass order of like 6 or 8 months worth of hardware for everything just to justify like the manufacturing time for them. And, you know, I think that's definitely the move going forward. I don't know anything about programming a Swiss. Is there anything special to it? Like I've heard that setup and stuff is kind of difficult.
Overall, at least for knife parts, they're all very simple parts. Even if you've got some live tools, whether they're axial or radial, it doesn't really matter. But the programming is pretty straightforward, especially if you're using software that's specific for Swiss. But most of that comes down to the weight codes and how it's posting. So if you've got like dual channel, because most of them, if you've got a main spindle and a sub spindle, you're running 2 separate programs. So there's a program for each spindle, and then there's weight codes in there, so that one's waiting for the other one, so they don't just crash into each other. Because if you're facing one part and you're facing the other part, they might not take the same amount of time. You know, if you're drilling or whatever. So, like in Part Maker, which is what I've used a lot, and that was all on Star Swiss, so it's all Fanuc stuff. But in Part Maker, you basically break up you kind of divide and conquer is what they call it. And you break up all your main spindle turning, all your sub spindle turning. It's in a separate setup, and then all your main spindle milling, all your main spindle turret work, all your sub spindle milling, whatever. And then once that's done, you bring it into the manager, and then it'll reorder whatever if you want to reorder it, and it'll sync everything that it can. So it'll allow you to sync certain tool paths on the sub. So say you have most of your turning working on your main, but you got a bunch of little intricate Torx milling on the sub. It'll do all the turning over here while it's milling over here if you have the tools available, kind of thing. So, but then it'll wait, you know, before it spits it out because it can't go pick up yet or whatever. So most of that stuff, there's guys using Fusion for that entirely. Most of it comes down to the post stuff, but it's pretty straightforward for knife stuff. It's easy. Like you said before, every knife part is a basic. It's all very basic.
Yeah.
How much do they run? Like $250,000?
Yeah,
A couple $100K to $250,000?
Yeah, easily. But you really only need, like a 12 millimeter or half inch is pretty much the max you would need. I don't know, even like a 3/8, even if you were to change everything to 10 millimeter or something, but a 12 mil or half inch max diameter would be more than adequate for pretty much anybody's knife stuff, unless you're doing collars and stuff. If you want to do,
it'd have to be the opposite, right? Because 10 millimeters, 20,000 is bigger than 3/8.
Mm-hmm. But sometimes on those ones, if they call them like a 10 mil, you can squeeze a 3/8 collet, or you can squeeze, if it's a 3/8 machine, you can squeeze like a 10 mil collet in, or if it's 12 millimeter, you can squeeze a half inch collet in there, kind of thing. So you can always bore them out if you really need to, but there's so many collet companies where you get a guide bushing and you get the collets and everything. You can get custom sizes on most of them. So I think that would be pretty cool. I've done a lot of Swiss stuff, so it would make sense. But like looking at my bill of materials right here, I have all my pricing, and I've got like $29 just in hardware for each assembly. So it's a pretty big chunk.
You're using two pivot assemblies instead of using cheap peasant $1.65 a piece 256 screws. You want the whole 9 yards with the double pivots, and you're using cheap pivots. You're not even using tie connector shit.
No,
you're using that Alpha USA Knife Maker stuff.
So I use USA Knife Maker screws because they have a T15 Torx. And just because I wanted a bigger Torx, I used to use AKS pivots because they had T10, which is the same Torx that's on a 440 screw, just so it was the same screw for everything, or the same tool or wrench for everything. But since I'm not using 440s or 256 or anything, like I want to just try and keep it at T15, just because it's a nice big wrench. Plus, it looks nice.
Shit's to T15.
It is.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a different thread size. That was the issue, I think, with mine.
It's not 864.
Yeah, so these are all 664. I'm getting my barrels from USA Knife Maker, but I'm getting the screws I'm getting the barrels from Alpha Knife Supply. I got those from Alpha Knife Supply, AKS. And then I got these screws.
Oh, so from USA Knife Maker. You got from USA Knife Maker. I got the screws from USA Knife Maker. So I'm mixing a bunch of different shit, and then the bearings I have on here from Skiff. So that's $14 for a pair of bearings. But I have to shorten one of the screws, and then I have to shorten both of the barrels. And one of them has to be precise for the pivot, and the other one just has to be shorter than the assembly. So it has some room to preload on there. So that can just be shortened to whatever. Makes sense.
The tolerance is not tight on that. They even have one off the shelf that works from USA Knife Maker, but I don't think the tolerance is held as tight as the AKS ones. So
I think it works when the tolerance is in your favor, but like if it's not, then it's not.
And the back one is holding the lock bar in place, so I don't want it to be loose in there. Even though a thou, even if it was small by a thou, you'd have a thou total movement on there. And I don't think that's really going to make that big of a difference in lock engagement at an 8-degree angle, but I'd prefer to have them consistent. Like right now, I throw all these things together and the lock engagement is exactly the same on almost every single one of them. I haven't noticed anything going noticeably far or not enough.
I need to get to that point.
But that was changing out. Like you said, I need to actually separate my rougher and my finisher for that 1/8-inch ball that I use for everything, because I used it for everything. I used the 1/8-inch ball to do all the profiles, all the stop pin track, the lock face, the window finishing, literally all that shit. And then it would just wear down by the time I got 5 blades done.
That's where it's at, man. Is like
finishing, with a separate tool would be ideal.
You have to split it up with hard milling. Yeah. Like it's just not an option to have a do-all tool. It just doesn't cutting 64 Rockwell shit just doesn't work. Yeah,
and I have enough room in here. Like I said, I only have like 4 tools to finish these blades.
You suck, dude.
Whatever it was.
You have room in your tool changer? I haven't had room in my tool changer since before I got the machine. Like, it's just been maxed out.
Yeah, tool 1 through 5 on here are empty. I keep them for kind of job shop stuff or whatever. I don't need them for anything.
I hate you.
I should throw some duplicate stuff in here for finishing.
Redundant tooling.
Yeah. So I need to do that. I got to basically finish these barrels, just shorten those up today. And then I can throw the rest of these datums together. I have one that has an Ultim. I made 3 sets of Ultim frames, but having the lock side and the show side both be Ultim, it's just too soft. You can squeeze the whole thing. Even with the full length backspacer, you can bend the frames in half. So I'm going to do at least one of them with a show side with Ultim. I have 3 of them, but
and blackened hardware, right?
It'd be cool.
You know how many people hit me up after that? Like we had that episode where I was talking about that. They're like, I'll take the Jim special datum, the Ultim, the blackened hardware.
So maybe I just need to do 3 of those I'll do 3 of those maybe, or do one of them and auction it or something. I don't know yet.
Something special, man.
Dude,
But yeah,
auction
I just
them.
need to finish them. It'd be good. Yeah. I've basically just been, whenever I have a little time, going over there, finishing it, and then I stick it in that Magpul DACA pouch, because they're all shipping in those Magpul zipper DACA pouches. This is the small suppressor size ones. So I've just been finishing those, and then I lock it in my toolbox, and it's done. So I need to go back through and sharpen them all. But yeah, I want to try and do that this weekend, or whenever, as soon as I can. I just get enough drop notice for everybody in Facebook.
Just send out the drop notice today. Send the drop notice out today. That'll let a fire under your ass. Get everything done, and then Saturday comes, and you're like, "Yep, shit's done," and then you'll get amped again, and then you'll do the next one.
That's the SPK way, baby. Follow that.
Yeah, that's my problem.
It's either that, or I'm just going to text you every day and say, "Hey, are you done?"
Yeah, you need to, because that's the problem right now. Like I had a hard deadline for the Maker Syndicate. Yeah. So I had to finish something, and now I don't have a hard deadline aside from just the next round of fucking bills this month coming. So
yeah, hard deadline is your bills need fucking paid, bitch. So get working. That's your hard deadline.
Yeah, I need to do that shit. So
nice.
That's a good idea.
I think that's a good move.
All right, Saturday at noon Pacific Standard Time. Saturday 12 o'clock. There's the drop.
Saturday 12 Pacific. Let's go.
Be there.
There it is.
Square.
Be there. Yeah, be in Facebook or
I would encourage you. I'm moving in this direction also. I think it's smart with how Instagram's moving about weapons, but you should start to do the drop via your email list, man. You should push people to hey, sign up for my email list, because the link to buy them on Shopify or whatever is going to be sent out at noon, to my email list only. I'm trying to really push people to that. I'm going to do a lotto, or I'm going to do a giveaway knife, I think, for my email list. I'm really moving in that direction, which is I think I have I don't know, 2,500 people on there. I have really not taken care of it in a long time. And then I'm talking to my buddy who's handling all the behind the scenes, my website rebuild and my payment processor negotiations and all the stuff that he's been doing to prepare for this big run of transients that I'm going to do. And he's like, dude, we have his main job. He's like, we have 100,000 subscribers. You know what I mean? Nobody can ever take that away from you. No matter what social media does, everybody has an email. Yep. And if you have that, you can control your distribution of content. It's really something you need to be pushing really routinely, to the point where I'm almost going to start doing weekly stories of some capacity of linking it, or trying to have rewards just to start to make the transition. I just think it's a smart way. And you're about to be building up a bunch of hype with this new product. Why not utilize it to do you have an email list at all? What do you do that at all?
So I've never sent one out, but I have an email list. I originally started doing it through MailChimp, but I never I never kept up on it. And then you can do it through Shopify. So nice. I've basically just been having people sign up through the Shopify link. But nice. I honestly, I haven't spent a single second going through how to actually create or send out.
Well, they call them campaigns. They call them campaigns. And
MailChimp calls them campaigns.
Yeah, you can also auto send shit too. So if you make a campaign at the beginning of the week, it'll auto send on a Wednesday, and then everyone will get it on a Wednesday, and then boom.
I need to do that, and we should probably do it for the podcast too. I need to get better about actually just posting shit about the podcast, because I've been kind of just relying on people knowing that it exists and trying to stay on it, but I haven't been pushing anything. I was all hyped on it, but fuck, it's a lot of work, man.
I appreciate everything you've done up to this point. I've done literally zero except for buy these things that you sent me links to buy. And you send me emails to join and troubleshoot my setup for everything. And I just talk like a dummy here. And then you handle everything. And so I appreciate that. But if you need any assistance delegating for Instagram stuff, if we can talk about how we want to curate our content, because obviously you and I are both really particular about how we're presenting what we're doing, whether it's image continuity or caption continuity. We're both pretty particular about that. So if we want to figure out how we want to do it, and you want to change the password so it's friendly for me also, I can also be logging in and help you to curate that stuff, because cool. That's really on both of us.
I'm not sure how it works because it's linked to my Instagram.
Yeah.
So you just add, another account on there. That's how the Instagram one is. But I know at least on the Facebook group and stuff, I can make you an admin on there if I have. I think I already did.
Sure. You did. It's just I'm not really using it too much.
Yeah, that's how it was yesterday. So I hit up Alex because he got a mic and headphones and everything. And I was like, yeah, jump on so we can make sure all your shit works. And then it was going to be, just a few minutes here and there doing that. And then we ended up spending like a couple hours in Fusion fucking around with this.
Oh yeah.
So this is something that I'm working on right now. I don't, anybody listening can't see it, but we've been talking about doing cup wheel stuff a lot. So 6-inch cup wheel on this simple fixture. And I'm kind of motivated to just make this fixture right now. I have material sitting that's big enough that'll work for it. Just a 6-inch wheel and grinding the primaries and making them a hollow. So I've been kind of thinking about this a bunch, but it's going to require changing the frames and it's going to make a bunch of things have to change. So I don't really want to do it for this next run. I want to just do a run and get them out and keep going on stuff and then work on this kind of
that datum H, dude, that datum hollow ground.
There you go. There's the datum H. It's got a hollow grind on it. But anyways, so yeah, we were kind of messing with that yesterday a little bit. So
nice, man.
There's a lot of stuff going on, but I need to actually just finish some shit and ship it because there's a hard deadline just sitting on the table.
12 p.m.
Yep.
Yeah. Saturday, 12 p.m. noon Pacific Standard Time, the release of the next batch of datums. Better get started on it now.
I know. And this whole time while I was saying that, I was like, all right, cool. I got all week. But I forgot that we waited until Wednesday again to record this. So I have like 2 days.
Is today Wednesday?
Today's Wednesday. And you posted yesterday on your stories that it was Wednesday. And I was like, what the fuck?
It's already Wednesday. Dude, I had so many people hit me up that were like,
that's why it's Wednesday.
Anything? And I'm like, yeah, sorry, I'm a fucking idiot. Like, what do you want from me? I'm posting a picture of my watch. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not smart. Okay, leave me alone.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we can end it on this note of like, Alex, what are you working on this week in the shop? What do you have going on?
So I just got a bunch of stuff back from Cerakote and working on the last batch of Crewwear blades. Like I'm pretty much going to be done with Crewwear. I think I'm moving on to LMAX, and so that's what I'm working on. I think I got 60 something. I'll be doing a pre-order Friday the 13th.
Oh, hell yeah. You heard it here. Friday the 13th, SPK is releasing the next pre-order for the remaining 60 Crewwear Lamias. We're going to call them the Sharpened Perspectives Podcast Special because you heard about it here first.
There you go. You definitely
I should have jumped in on that pre-order for your shirt too. I fucked up. But all I got to do is just download I should just download your link or your logo and send it to...
I can just order some shirts and just send them to you guys. Like,
that's what I was saying. I could just send your logo to Sticker Mule and make my own.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then you get some weak like pressed vinyl stuff instead of the nice screen printed stuff.
Yeah. Their shirts are pretty nice.
Oh yeah, this guy.
Sticker Mule, yeah.
Sticker Mule is not bad.
The shirt is really nice. I actually really like the shirt.
Jim does have a screen printing operation, so
I know.
Yeah, when it runs, it hasn't done anything for me for a while. My cousin's been kind of slacking. He came over on Sunday and was like, I got 3 jobs to do. I'm like, yeah, like that one you were supposed to do for me like a month ago. Like, come on, dude. I bought all the crap. Let's go. Yeah, no. Can't, he's a young guy that's figuring it out. I can't bust his chops too much. I appreciate him doing the work, but, he needs a harder deadline, apparently. He needs a Ken Spalding deadline to get anything done around here.
I know. I have I got a question real quick before we jump off.
Sure.
But aside, it's been cool having Alex on here. I think it'd be cool next week too. If you're down.
Yeah, for sure, man. I don't have any issue. You make it easy to bullshit with.
Yeah, I mean, this one was kind of a lot of like kind of history of.
Listen, you guys tell me. Cool, guys tell me the time, and I'll be there.
Yeah, no, it's cool. I'm stoked. It's easy. It makes it easy having 3 people on here too, even though I didn't really talk much. But yeah,
it's all you next week, buddy. I'm not saying a word.
I know. We got to talk about that new tumbler that I bought after I sold these datums.
There you go.
No, I got to buy material. So real quick on the drop stuff. So I have the Facebook group, which is kind of where I want to post most of that stuff first because it's way better than Instagram, I think, for that. Yep. I've been using Instagram stories a lot more for just kind of behind the scenes, just easy, quick posts of stories. But the whole plan or goal of having the Facebook group was to prioritize that because that's way more of a crew, like a small kind of tighter knit group of people that are actually paying attention to my stuff for a reason.
Yeah.
Facebook or Instagram is just bullshit. I would imagine half of my followers are probably ghosts at this point. But if I do the email campaign. I have it open now. I've got the marketing stuff and then campaigns in here and shows automations and all that stuff. I got to figure out, or actually create some stuff to do. The order of notifications doesn't really matter if I put it on all of them because the drop's going to be the same time. So I wanted to prioritize the Facebook group kind of first. So where that kind of makes it seem like there's some effort.
Being in there is advantageous.
Exactly. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm partially retarded. I don't ever know how to speak about anything, but I want to make it to where there's like an actual advantage of being in the Facebook group. And that was kind of why I did that. And always said like, I'm going to prioritize that for notifications. But I guess I could just post in there first before the email blast goes out or whatever. I don't know.
So do email blasts like a day, 24 hours before.
Yeah.
That's plenty of notice in an email. Like, hey, I'm doing a drop. But the Facebook group knows 2 days before. So do it today or whatever,
Yeah, that's probably ideal. Cause that's like how all like the Pete's Pirate Life stuff is and all that shit. It's like, it's usually a day before.
Right.
But there's some hype, in the groups and stuff before. That's a good idea. I'll just do that.
Alex is smarter than us. That's the way to do it.
Yeah.
Well, it's like you want people to work for you. Like if all of your main homies are in that Facebook group, then and they're stoked about it, they're going to tell everyone.
Yeah,
and then, people are going to go immediately sign up for the email thing, and then they'll get it a day before, and then they'll know. Then
it's good because they'll need some notification to sign up before, anyways.
If that's true. You just don't get it. Yeah, you just don't. You don't let them know, and you don't let anybody know ahead of time. The only notification is to the email list or whatever, and then making it known to the Facebook group after that, rather than letting the general population know on your Instagram when it is. Like, make the drop truly exclusive. I've seen Montana Knife Company do that, where they'll get your phone number and they do like text only drops, and it's like, hey, we usually do email, but now we're going to do text only, a secret drop. You know what I mean? And it's like, if there's one brand within this space that would be worth copying, shit, it's what they're doing. Fuck,
and you can do that on. They use Shopify, so you can do that on Shopify. You can make people put their phone number in when they check out. Then you have it. Now all those people that put their phone number, you can send them a text blast.
Yeah.
Are you guys? This is actually a question, Alex. Are you doing all your payment processing through Shopify?
I am.
Man, they booted me out for knife stuff like 3 years ago. Like,
I don't know about it.
So I asked him about it too, and then I realized that John Grimsmo is also using them for Shopify, but he was taking PayPal payments, and I'm just like, I don't know how any of that went through, but I think now he's doing everything through Shopify, and most Montana Knife Companies doing everything through Shopify.
Do you know what your percentage is, like what you're paying per transaction?
Yeah, can't remember. The credit card transaction is like $20-something or something like that.
Dude. That's kind of wild. Like, that's like 7%. No, how much do you charge for a knife? $700? $800?
Yeah.
What are you charging?
So like roughly in the $700 to $800 range. Yeah. So
call it 800. So you're at 10% would be 80. So yeah, it's like 4% maybe.
Yeah. So I think
this
it's like
payment processor that I'm using is 1.5% flat.
Oh fuck, that's really good.
Yeah, like this
but you're
is my
using
buddy.
Like a custom built one though, right?
Yeah, he built. Yeah, Maverick payment processing built it custom. They're like allowing like $50K a month and at a flat 1.5% fee with no additional surcharges or anything.
That's pretty dope.
Yeah, it was a lot of work. I had to provide them with a lot of information with regard to my business, my vendors, my material acquisition to prove that I was making everything. Yep. Like, it was a big process, but when you're talking $15 for $1,000 knife flat with no monthly recurring fees or anything and like no cap, like that was my problem. I've been using PayPal, but like they started out like you can only use $1,000, then you can only do, it goes up by $1,000 a month, and they're always holding my payments. And now I'm at like 12,000, but like to get up to 50K will take forever, and they're taking a huge percentage too. So
I think if I move up to the next tier in Shopify, it's like a less percentage.
But so aren't you paying like hundreds of dollars a month at that point to use Shopify though?
No, if you go up to the next tier, I think it's like an additional $25 to $40, so it'd be like $80 a month or something like that.
Okay, that's
it's like $89. I think mine's $39 for mine.
Yeah, because
I use it for
like
everything.
I'm roughly around $39 a month.
And that's with the point of sale too. You get the point of sale light. So like what we used at the show, you get the card reader. Well, you got to buy it, but you get the card reader and all the transaction stuff is all handled through that. So it's super
So then
easy.
what do? They just send you a 1099 then at the end of the year for every payment that you process through them?
Yeah, basically a bulk one.
Nice. Okay,
yeah,
I'll have to look into that too.
Yeah, they take out every transaction. So like you'll get all of your total sales, and then they'll take out their cut, and then at the end of the year they have a 1099 you and write it all off.
They take a cut. Their cut. Yeah, whatever. All right, this is actually interesting. I'm glad we can start to talk about this kind of nuanced stuff too. You know, we're talking about machining, but we're also kind of talking about the business, the logistics of running a business en masse when you're doing, you know, $200,000 to $500,000 a year in sales. Like people don't realize like what, you know, what an effort that takes to really like logistically be able to handle that, you know. And I'm learning it now, you know, because I did a lot of my stuff off the books or cash or Zelle or, you know, you choose your payment method. And as we're trying to standardize it, you really realize that like not just anybody wants to work with weapons and not just anybody wants to give you a fair rate to let you just get your money. So anyways, That'll be a conversation for another day. I can't believe we just hit 90 minutes. I think this actually might be our longest podcast. And I feel like
for sure.
I could talk for another 3 hours. So yeah, I really like the idea of having Alex be a recurring guest. I think he fits in with us. Super sarcastic, dry ass sense of humor. Wears black most of the time. I'm wearing green. I don't match today, but yeah.
I know you gotta wear your HMC shirt, man.
Yeah, I gotta have some more made, man. Mine, the ones I'm rocking, my wife are like, those are so bleached and like they're fucked up, and that some of them don't have sleeves. And like, you know what? Maybe a cut off HMC shirt is gonna be my new uniform. That's what I'll be rocking every week.
That's the move. Yeah, I still have one. I think I gave my green one to Joe, or at least my sweatshirt. I think I gave to Joe because it was kind of
big. You're too skinny now. Your vegan ass is too skinny for that size large, man. You need that extra medium now.
Yep. No, I got a large on, but yeah. So
well, cool guys. I appreciate the conversation.
I gotta get another one of your shirts before the show.
Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna try and have Gabe make up some stuff to sell. I know I said that the last show, but I sincerely, based on just the volume of people that came through, you know, I realized like, man, if I had some merch, like I definitely could have sold hundreds and hundreds of dollars worth of t-shirts, I'm sure.
Yeah,
just like
especially since you drove there. But yeah, flying out here is going to suck. But I mean, worst case, I've got your logo. I could always just send it to Sticker Mule and get a shirt for the show. I don't want to be wearing my shirt at your table. So
fair enough. I appreciate that. I mean, I also wouldn't be opposed if you had any desire to, and if you had any product ready to go, you'd be more than welcome to like throw, you know, some product on my table if you wanted to have anything available at the show just to represent it. Like, I don't give a shit. And if they cared, I don't give a fuck. So whatever.
I think if anything, maybe try and do some collab stuff. But
yeah, come on, bitch. November 12th. Get that going. You need that material, man.
Yep.
All right, guys. Well, it's been a pleasure.
Right,
I look forward to talking to you guys next week. Kill the week, and we'll catch up in a few days.
Cool. Sounds good, dude.
Take it easy.
Later.
Peace out.